Hello friends, today we are going to discuss about bone conduction evaluation. My name is PT Vinayagar. I am an audiologist and speech therapist. Okay, bone conduction evaluation is done as a part of pure tone audiometry. It is not a separate test, whereas in case of tuning fork test, bone conduction evaluation is the major method there. So we'll discuss the bone conduction evaluation and how it is done and what are the what we need to take care during bone conduction evaluation. So these are the contents: introduction, bone conduction hearing, nostalgia. So what fact that made bone conduction hearing as an important test, and what are the interests there developed at olden days. Then Weber and bone conduction, whereas Weber, we know it works on the principle of lateralization, and there bone conduction plays a major role. And B71 bone vibrator, commonly used bone vibrator for pure tone audiometry. Then components of bone conduction. So how the outer, middle and inner ear are also involved in bone conduction. Then transmission route, air and bone conduction mechanism, then normal hearing sensitivity, then conclusion. So we'll move on to the introduction. Introduction: in bone conducted energy does not entirely bypass the outer ear and middle ear. So in previous videos that in tuning fork test we discussed that bone conduction mechanism, that it bypasses the outer and middle ear and directly stimulate the inner ear. So now we are saying that not entirely, majorly it bypasses the outer and middle ear, whereas there is the role of outer and middle ear in bone conduction also. So that is what we come up with this presentation. So bone conduction hearing, nostalgia. So how the bone conduction hearing or this mechanism got interest in olden days. Capivesi recognized the diagnostic significance of bone conduction hearing. How he recognized? He used an instrument called zither. This is a musical instrument, moreover like our guitar, whereas the one end of the instrument is connected with a metal rod, and the patients or the clients that we are going to test has to hold the metal rod in his teeth, or he has to clench the metal rod. So on the other side, the tester will stimulate the strings, or he plays the string such that the vibration will pass on to the metal rod. If the patient can able to hear or he may not hear, based on these two findings, our author Capivesi is going to differentiate the disorders. Like if the patient can able to hear, then his inner ear and nerve is normal, or it is disorder of it is not the disorder of cochlear nerve, it is a disorder of tympanic membrane, whatever we call nowadays as conductive hearing loss. So if he is not able to hear, then it is not from the tympanic membrane, whereas it is a disorder of cochlear nerve. So he differently diagnosed the disorders of tympanic membrane, that is conductive hearing loss nowadays, from disorders of cochlear nerve, that is the sensorineural hearing loss in present. Then we'll move on to occlusion effect. This is very important. So listeners with conductive hearing loss have outer ear occlusions or middle ear disorders that attenuate ear conducted tones. Outer or middle ear disorder can effectively trap the bone conducted tones that would otherwise radiate out of the ear canal. Thus occlusions effectively intensify bone conducted tones. So normally an outer ear, we call it as high pass filter, because it will pass the high frequencies, whereas the low frequencies has to escape in case of unoccluded normal ear. Okay, in case of normal hearing, or the outer ear is not occluded. So this is the actual mechanism. Whereas in case of occlusion, if the outer ear is occluded, so there is no way to escape. The low frequencies, it cannot able to escape. So it will trap inside the outer ear and it will stimulate. So that's why it will effectively intensify the bone conductive tones. So this is called occlusion effect. So we know that while testing bone conduction, we already said in previous videos also, we said that it bypasses the outer and middle ear. So if any occlusion of the outer ear, how it will intensify the bone conductance. So there is a role of outer and middle ear also in bone conduction mechanism. Okay, we will see in the next slide. The Weber and bone conduction. We know that Weber works on the principle of lateralization, where the bone conduction is the major principle. So unilateral conductive hearing loss, here bone conductive tones louder in the impaired ear because of the occlusion effect. Unilateral sensorineural hearing loss, here bone conductive tones softer in the impaired ear because of sensorineural disorder. So here in occlusion effect, we know that it is effectively intensify the bone conduction. So in case of unilateral conductive hearing loss, he will hear the bone conductive tone louder in the impaired ear because of occlusion effect. Whereas in sensorineural hearing loss, there is no any effect. So only effect of hearing loss. So there will be a reduction of hearing. So he will hear the tone softer in the impaired ear in case of sensorineural hearing loss. So this is the bone vibrator B71. This is the bone vibrator commonly used for pure tone evaluation. Here you can see this is the metal rod. This is the metal band. You can say not a rod. It is a metal headband. Whereas here you can see this is the signal. This is the wire which is connected to the audiometer. So here our electrical signal will come. In this plastic, when you open this plastic, we can see the diaphragm here. So the diaphragm is encased with a plastic. So this ring of plastic, it will make a contact. So it has to be placed firmly on the skull or the mastoid. Usually it's a mastoid region in pure tone evaluation. So this is a B71 bone vibrator. Then components of bone conduction. So here now we confirmed that the outer middle ear and inner ear, these it is not directly bypassing the outer and middle ear. Some role is also there in bone conduction mechanism. That is, the outer and middle ear is also involved in bone conduction mechanism. What are the role of outer ear? First we will see, move on to outer ear in bone conduction mechanism. So in outer ear, when the bone conduction mechanism or bone conduction is stimulated, so it will lead to vibration of bony and cartilaginous walls of the ear canals. So there is a vibration of bone and cartilaginous walls of the ear canal. This will generate a sound. And also vibration of mandible also adds on. This is not majorly, there is at very minimal level. So this will also create a sound. So outer ear also involved. We know that. So if a sound is in outer ear or ear canal, then it will takes our air conduction pathway. So there is air conduction in bone conduction pathway. So this pathway is also stimulated during bone conduction. We know that outer ear is a high pass filter. That is, it will passes the high frequency. So it will makes a high frequency to let inside the outer ear. So it will or cut down the low frequencies, or it will make the low frequency escape out of the ear, whereas the high frequencies are allowed. In case of occlusion, that we have discussed in the previous slide only, occlusion effect. So in case of occlusion, it will trap the low frequency sounds are trapped inside the outer ear, so the inside the ear, so it will effectively intensify the bone conduction up to around 20 dB of low test frequencies. Then we move on to the middle ear. So this outer ear we have discussed, whereas in middle ear it is an inertial lag of the ossicles. So this is important because here we are using a new term, that inertia. Inertia is a law. It is a law in physics, whereas a body stays rest unless any external forces acted upon. So every body has its own inertia. So any object has its own inertia. So here we can say the example of coffee and mug. Whereas if you keep a mug faster with the coffee will lag the movement of the cup and it will spill later. So there is here the inertia of cup and the coffee is different. Okay. Similarly, why I have said this example, because the inertia of the ossicles is different, whereas the skull bone is different. Here our ossicles, the malleus, incus and stapes, are not directly linked to the skull. It has some connection, that is using ligaments and tendons it is connected. It is not directly connected. So when a bone conduction is stimulated, it should not act or it is not acting in phase of the vibration of skull. So the ossicles can freely vibrate out of phase of the skull vibration. So it has the capacity to vibrate out of phase to the skull vibration. So that is the point here. So at and above 1500 Hz and is especially significant near 2000 Hz. So this is the near resonant frequency of the middle ear. So this frequency is a resonant frequency. We know that the frequency at which the body is maximally vibrates, or it conducts that frequency more than any other. So this is the resonant frequency is around 2000 Hz for middle ear. And we'll move on to the inner ear. When it comes to inner ear, it is more complicated because there are so many factors that are contributing in the bone conduction of inner ear. So here the first is out of phase of that is when the stapes moves inward or into the oval window, there will be when the stapes move inside to the oval window, whereas here the round window will come out. So this is going inside, the mechanism happens, whereas the round window comes bulger outside towards the opposite side. So this is called 180-degree out of phase mechanism. So similarly, the fluid inertia of our perilymph and endolymph. So it have the volume of the fluids, then cochlear compression, then skull content vibration, the entire skull, the CSF or meninges, whatever, the entire skull content vibration. These all are adding on to the inner ear component of bone conduction. I have just added only 4. There are so many other factors also involved when it comes to inner ear. So inertia of inner ear fluids contributes to inner ear bone conduction hearing, especially below 1000 Hz. Now we are actually moving on to the transmission route of air and bone conduction. Now we have studied that outer ear, middle ear and inner ear also involved in the bone conduction mechanism. So how it is involved? Let's see the transmission route. So now I am going to stimulate air conduction. So when the earphone is placed, earphone placement in right ear, if I stimulate this right ear, the sound will pass on to outer ear, right outer ear. Then it will move on to the right middle ear. Then it stimulates the right inner ear. This is the normal air conduction pathway that we all know. But when I stimulate the right mastoid or right bone conduction mechanism, what is going to happen? Yes, the sound will reach both sides. That is the first thing that we need to know, because it is the skull vibration, not the one ear we are stimulating, but the entire skull is stimulated. So the sound can reach both the sides. So whatever we know bone conduction transmission, that it bypasses the outer and middle ear and directly reaches the inner ear. That's what we studied in previous videos. But we know that the outer ear, it will take another route also. It is outer ear, then our middle ear, inner ear, the normal air conduction. Then bone conduction component of middle ear also is there. Then middle ear to inner ear. Then servos, the skull content vibration, that what we discussed previously, the meninges, brain fluid. So what are the contents inside the skull also vibrate. This cerebrospinal fluid, then reaching the inner ear. Then it will reach the other ear also, because it is a stimulation from one side, whereas the entire skull is vibrated. So here again, left outer ear, middle ear, inner ear. Then bone conduction component of middle ear, bone conduction component of the left inner ear. So this is the complex skull vibration when a single ear is stimulated through bone conduction. So for the study purpose, I have said that outer ear, middle ear, inner ear separately I have made a graph, but we need to see as a whole. This pathway is as a whole. Whenever I stimulate the bone vibrator of right mastoid, this all the routes it will take over. So it is as a whole. Then we will move on to normal hearing sensitivity. Here you can see that the right and left ear air conduction and the bone conduction thresholds are marked here. So here you have to see the 10 dB rule, that is the air and the bone gap, that is air bone gap. So here it is within 10 dB and also it is within 15. So this is a normal hearing threshold. Whereas in case of conductive hearing loss, any disorders of outer ear and middle ear will lead to the poorer thresholds in the conduction, air conduction mode, because whenever we stimulate outer ear, middle ear, inner ear and the nerve, so it is, so air conduction will stimulate all the outer, middle, inner and nerve, so all the pathway. So here if you, for example, say 40 dB loss, so here your air conduction threshold will come up to 40 dB. Whereas when you stimulate through bone conduction, so it will remains normal, because we are bypassing the outer and middle ear and we directly stimulate in the inner ear and nerve. So your bone conduction thresholds will be remain unaffected, such that your air bone gap will be more, greater than 10 dB. So it will be greater than 10 dB and the air bone gap will be more. In case of sensorineural hearing loss, ear conduction, when you test ear conduction, the sensorineural component, the impaired sensorineural component will be reflected as the hearing threshold. Example we say again 40 dB. So 40 dB hearing loss. When I test through bone conduction, then also there will be a hearing loss. In bone conduction also will have the poorer threshold, because in air conduction, while testing air conduction and bone conduction, the locus is sensorineural cochlear hearing loss, cochlear nerve, whichever is in the sensorineural component, such that the bone conduction will also poorer nearer to the air conduction. Almost the air conduction threshold and bone conduction threshold will be equal. So equal to, that is plus or minus 10 dB, that is within 10 dB air bone gap. So here this is called sensorineural hearing loss. Whereas in case of mixed hearing loss, ear conduction will be affected, and also bone conduction also will be affected to some extent. So that is called mixed hearing loss. Whereas the air bone gap will be more than 10 dB. Here air conduction is also affected, bone conduction is also affected, not to equal level, but some extent of bone conduction is also affected, some extent to the air conduction threshold is also affected. That is called mixed hearing loss. In case of conductive hearing loss, the airborne gap should not, the airborne gap to diagnose as a conductive hearing loss, the airborne gap is allowed till 60 dB. More than 60 dB, if more than 60 dB, it will stimulate both the pathways. So there we cannot say the severe conductive hearing loss. Okay, this is severe mixed hearing loss. Then we will move on to the, so this is what depending on the bone conduction mechanism, how we are differentially diagnose the three types of hearing loss. Then vibrotactile response. In some cases, the patient may feel the vibration of the sound, whereas they cannot able to hear. Mostly in the low frequency and higher intensities. This should also take in account that you should not take these as a hearing thresholds. This will make as error. In case of profound hearing loss or the persons who are having significant hearing loss will say that it will report as a hearing threshold. We should be careful in reporting what is vibrotactile response and what is the real bone conduction threshold. And also we studied that when the skull is vibrated, it reaches the both ear as well. That means whatever you are stimulating in bone conduction mechanism, it is not ear specific response. There will be a participation of other ear. That is called the crossover. Crossover is the sound which will reach to the test ear will also to the will reach to the other ear. It is called crossover. So the masking is done in case of crossover. So in masking there are so many factors to be considered. The mask has noise, masking stimulus. There are so many factors has to be taken account when doing masking criteria. So we'll discuss further videos. This is conclusion. So a person as an audiologist, bone conduction threshold evaluation is an integral component of the basic audiological examination. So for accurate sight of lesion, whether it is an outer ear, middle ear or inner ear or nerve, so whether it is a conductive or sensorineural hearing loss, or the cause, whether it is an osteoma, whether it is an otitis media, whether it is a presbycusis, to diagnose, to find out the etiology, for efficient diagnosis, understanding of air and bone conduction is required. Thank you. For more videos, subscribe our channel. Hope you enjoyed the video.